Hello, my darlings. Welcome to SOULSPACE, my podcast show with me, Nicky Allen. I am a psychic medium, angel communicator, tutor of all things, a best-selling author, and literally deal with anything celestial, esoteric, to do with hauntings, paranormal stuff, aliens, you name it. If you love all that stuff, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about something that I've just literally gone up to the angel realms and said, what do you feel I need to tell humankind at the moment? It's got massive on my YouTube channel, me channeling celestial beings, so I thought I'm going to do it on my podcast as well. So I went up there and my guide, Julianus, who you'll know if you've read my books, he was someone from Trastevere, Rome, 1452. He came up to me and said, I want to jump in on this one. So I didn't get to the angel realms in the end. I got to Julianus. He's going to tell you all about embracing change. Now, I said to him, what is one of the biggest flaws, one of the biggest problems that humankind have? And he said to me, he does have a bit of a sense of humour, actually, for a guide. He said, well, the list is too long. You would have to go to the halls of learning. And that's his way of taking the mickey. So I said, right, okay. And so he said, the biggest problem that humans have with not adhering to their soul contract is the refusal and the fear to make change. I said, seriously, that's one of the biggest problems. It's one of the biggest problems. Now, if you've listened to my other podcasts, you'll know that I spoke about soul contracts and reincarnation. And just a quick recap, we agree a blueprint of what we're going to be experiencing down on the earth plane, who we're going to meet, when we're going to meet them, how they're going to influence us, how we're going to move on, what obstacles we want to face, what experiences we want to have. And, a lot of them are pretty tough. The older we get as a soul, the harder the experiences become. Okay, so you see all these beautiful people, they haven't got a pot to pee in, but they're saving animals and, living just off the shirt of their back. And they're just doing everything they can for animals. It's a really hard life and blah, 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 blah. And that is an old soul. The young souls are the ones that have been newly created that come down here, win the lottery, but also are pigs or, I don't know, thieves. Not even pigs. Pigs are beautiful. That's not even the right word to use. But do you know what I mean? So we come down here. This is our playground, if you like. This is our learning ground. Okay, it's one of the most favourite planets for it. It's one of the most basic planets in respect of intelligence and technology. There are other planets out there that are way ahead of us that we couldn't even begin to understand or connect with. That's why we don't get a lot of physical visitation, but we can channel them spiritually, which a lot of us do. And I'm becoming very much aware of that now, that these other galactic energies and layers are coming in to assist us. Because we've got a bit of a crisis going on, but that's for another podcast, okay? But one of the things is that we need to raise our vibration and try and honour our soul contracts, and we're kind of deviating off of them. So when I mention the words tower moments, what I mean is that in the tarot cards, you will see in the deck the major arcana, the tower, okay? And it's basically normally depicted as this huge tower, and there's like thunderbolts and like lightning bolts and people falling down, and it looks like absolute tragedy. And you're like, Jesus. And it's basically a really scary card to look at. But I see it as one of the most positive and most fantastic cards in the deck. The reason being is that tower moments are, yes, they are unexpected kicks in the nuts to us, or pants, whatever you want to be. It basically comes along and kicks us right where we don't want it. And it could be anything. It could be a loss. It could be losing your job. It could be having to lose your house, whatever it is, losing your health, losing a person, whatever the tower moment is, when it's happening, you're like, oh my God, this is horrific. And it is. Don't get me wrong. I've had the major ones I've had two, when I got medically retired from the police service and then when I had my road accident. And yes, they are totally pants at the time. And what I've learned from tower moments is that they can force change in the most amazing ways, but I mean amazingly crap ways at that point, right? Because perhaps you need to, like, look at me, for instance, had the road accident, lost absolutely everything, was in massive debt because my ex stole everything from me. I lost my home. I lost my holiday home. I was homeless. I'd lost my life, my health, my family, my friends, my social life, my career. Everything was gone. It was just me, as you know, and my 2 little fur babies. That was it. Nothing else. That was my last tower moment, and it was absolutely shite. And so at the time of a tower moment, what it's taught me is that I now, if anything happens now, which is a bit, oh my God, I think, right, well, hang on, because there's a reason for this. And normally the reason is that something better is going to come because you've refused to embrace change. Now, if we take my story, for instance, the time, and I'm giving you a few spoilers for me, myself, and I, to be fair, and the rise and fall of Britain's best psychic medium. I'm giving you a few spoilers from both, okay? Because what happened is that in the space I was in before my tower moment, and the reason I'm, again, sharing this with you, and I've done it before, but some of you may not have heard any other podcasts. The reason I'm sharing this with you again is because you need to look at why I had that tower moment, because a lot of you email me and say, I've been punished. Why am I being treated like this? Why has this happened to me? I don't deserve this. No, you don't. Okay. But as a bigger, more solid, pure soul up there, when you've chosen your tiny little human experiences, you don't feel that. You just think, oh, that's all right. Let's just deal with that blip. What we do is we then forget our infinitive existence. We forget our pure soul that's been around for hundreds of years, and we come back down here as a little human being again, and everything is huge again when it goes wrong or right. And that's the problem. We forget. We don't see the bigger picture of our immortal reign in the universe. We just see our tiny little human existence this time round, right? So I think it's important. So when we do this soul contract, when we say, right, this is what I want to experience, most of us forget that as well, because what's the point in remembering it? It's not worth coming down here. It's like having a crossword with all the answers next to it. Okay? So we come down here and then we trot along, and then we end up deviating from our path that's supposed to take us to our next experience, next person, or whatever's going on, right? So let's use my story as an example. Now, they wanted me in a space where I could reach millions, which I do now, and I'm so grateful for that. The amount of people that tune in and watch and the views, it's just beyond anything I could possibly imagine. Okay, so I now reach globally through my social media sites, millions of people with messages from the divine. And they needed to be done during these next couple of years because of the crisis of the planet, right? So I've agreed to that in my soul contracts. Now, what's happened is that, let's just zoom back to 2011, okay? At that point, I was still being offered TV programs. I was just about to do a big TV series going around the world. I was arranging touring Australia and America. Okay, I still had all my magazine work. I still had all my radio work, and that was good. But I was more, because I had staff as well, I was more bums on seats, doing shows, moving on to the next. Okay, which isn't wrong. Absolutely not. It wasn't wrong at all. But what was also happening personally for me was I still had my demons from my past. And so I didn't really believe in myself. I was people pleasing and absolutely exhausting my physical body, trying to please people by giving them messages as way above and beyond. So, I'd be in a theatre and then I'd be still going half an hour after I'm supposed to be out of the theatre because please love me, please know that I want to do that, and it was just unhealthy. And it was the same as people wanting readings. If I did readings, I was literally doing them for 2 hours because I wanted to give them more and more and more. And I was literally giving my whole mind, body and soul to people. And I didn't care because I didn't love myself. I didn't care for myself. I didn't care that I didn't have a life. I didn't care about that. I also was with the most putrid energy of a person ever, a con man, a thief, the most disgusting, lying piece of shallow crap I've ever met in my life. But I didn't see that. I was just grateful that someone was there next to me. I paid for everything, all the holidays, everything. I just needed someone there. I couldn't be alone with myself because I hated myself that much. And so they above must have thought, my God, she's not going to change this. She's going to carry on. She's too scared to embrace change. I knew I needed to get rid of him. I knew that things were going too spirally for me. I knew I was exhausted. I knew that I was turning into what's the word, performing medium, just giving hundreds, thousands of people messages from their loved ones. But there was nothing else going forward from that. I was just trying to keep up with the tours and the shows, and that was all I was doing. That's all I was doing. I wasn't taking anything beyond that. Plus, I didn't have time to write my book. So I'd half done a book, and it had been, it was at a publishing company, and it was like, you need to get this finished. You need to get this finished. And I'm like, my God, I haven't even got time. So I was proving the afterlife incredibly well. I really was, doing the most amazing job. But obviously, I'd agreed to do a lot more deeper work. I'd agreed to do a lot more to reflect what was going to be happening from 2012, which is this rapid decline of humanity, the planet, the health of the planet, blah, 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 blah. And so they're like, she's not going to make this. So they're obviously, let's just keep it real, right? And try and keep it simple and on a human level. So they're all up there going, she ain't going to make this. There's no way she's going to jump. She's stuck on a bandwagon of paying insurances, staff, theatres. She's in this bandwagon of having to get bums on seats to cover the next payment for the next banners to be printed, the next, social media drive, la, 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 la. She's not stopping to love herself and embrace the universal energy that we need to be giving her to prepare her for later on. So they're like, what are we going to do? Because she's so off her path. So in the end, they obviously said, we're going to have to do something really bad. We're going to have to stop her in her tracks because otherwise she's not going to fulfill what we need her to do as an ambassador for the spirit world and for the angel realms and the other celestial layers of frequency. And so they literally took me off my feet and I had the road accident and I was in the most agonizing pain that you'd want to kill yourself, or even just after a day. I was so exhausted I couldn't get my head up off of the pillow. I couldn't deal with daylight. I couldn't deal with sound. I couldn't talk very well. I couldn't understand the television. It was horrific. However, do you know what stupid me did? And I know I've already spoken about this, but I forced it. For a year, I even saw a photograph of me the other day. No, it was yesterday, of me sitting on a settee on the stage doing a show because I physically couldn't stand up. What was I thinking? I was thinking I have to keep going for the public because I don't give a shit about myself. That's what I was thinking. How many of you have done that? I've got to keep going because my kids, my husband, my mum, whatever. I don't care about me. I'm knackered. I've got something wrong with me, but I don't care. How many empaths do that? It is part of being an empath, part of being half light, that you just want to keep giving for everybody else, despite how it is harrowing your health mentally, spiritually, physically. You just give to everybody else. And then you end up just plopping down thinking, oh, wow. And everybody's so used to being given from you, they don't help you back. So for a year, I forced this. I'm not changing. I'm not giving up. I've got a mortgage to pay. The dickhead I was with didn't pay a thing, so I had to pay for everything. So I'm not going to lose my house. I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose that. And in the end, he disappeared off with like 65 grand of my money. Thank you very much anyway. And so then I had the bailiffs, and it was just a whole world of shitness, okay? And so I've been there, darlings. I've been there. So what happens is, I know I've brought this up in the Dark Night of the Soul, but it just fits in beautifully the message I'm trying to put across to you. So then what happens is that I surrender, as you know, and then this then enters the 5 years of me literally laying in bed, right? Now, during those years, I had a rebirth and they re-educated me in cosmic ordering, angel connection, the seraphim. I established the most closest connection to my guide, Julianus, and Catherine and Khan, my other two guides. I started to write, even though I was in agony and could hardly see and couldn't put a string of sentences together. I started writing a diary, which turned out to be Me, Myself and I, Diary of a Psychic. I then had the most incredible download dream that has now led to the book coming out in the next couple of months, Earthwalkers, which is going to be colossal because it was written in 2014 and it's a prophecy of what is happening now on this planet. Incredible. So they were starting to prepare me, get me into the space I needed to be at, but I was not going to change for anybody. They taught me how to love myself. They taught me how to respect myself. They taught me everything I'd been lacking in my previous life, I call it, before my accident. So I stayed on my own for like 10 years. Didn't want to know. I just literally needed to find myself. And I did. And I adore myself. I love myself. I have my boundaries now. I'm totally honest. I'm totally transparent. As you'll know, seeing a lot of my YouTube and TikTok videos, I'm just sitting in bed without any makeup on with a hair unbrushed because I'm real now. You would never have seen me like that in my previous life. So when I was going through this, I remember having, and it is in the book as well, another spoiler, where Julianus said to us, did you honestly think we'd put you through this pain for no reason? You were so far off your path. And he showed me in this big black, and I've said this before, but I'm going to do it again. Showed me in this big black forest. He said, you've got to go get back onto your path. There's your path over there. And I could see it through all these thistles and tangles and brambles. And I'm like, bloody hell. So I'm like, right, okay. So he says, it's going to hurt going back. And I'm like, well, of course it is. And it did. I had to revisit my years of abuse, exes, through dream state, all the things that I'd done wrong. And then all the beauty of the angels coming in. And they just reset me. It was a grand personal soul reset. And then suddenly I started seeing things in a deeper, more fluid connection. I still had my conditions of fibromyalgia and ME, and I still couldn't go and tour. I couldn't get back on the horse and go running around Australia and America on a full-time basis, going from one hotel to another, doing tours. And I suddenly had time to write. I suddenly had time to think and absorb what was being brought to me from the celestial layers, which I now impart to you. Never in a million years would I thought I'd do that. Even when my dad told me, when he came and visited me from the spirit world in 2014, when he said to me, you're going to work on the most deepest and profound level you've ever imagined in your life. And I'm like, what's he talking about? I'm here to just prove, the afterlife. No, I'm not. That's part of it. That's a tiny part of what we need to know as a human on the earth plane. So my tower moment was bloody tough. But you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened to me because it got me back to where I am. So now, if something has to change, I don't even think about it. I do it. If I know that I have to change and embrace something that's come along, rather than sit there and fear it, put it back, delay it, ignore it, head in the sand, don't want to do it, worry about everybody else, what are they going to think, what are they going to do? I just do it. I trust the universe, I trust the process, and I do it. So how many of you listening to this now are in a position or a situation in your life that you are totally not happy with, but you carry on honouring it and plodding along? Because if you're doing that, you're stopping you getting to the next stage of your life plan. You're stopping yourself from getting to a stage of complete happiness. Let's just give you for instance. Say you're with someone you're not happy. All right, but you're plodding along because of the kids, because I won't have any money, or because blah, 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 right? And you're making excuses for yourself. You're not happy and you're with this person, right? Your soulmate most probably is sitting there waiting for you. Right? So all you're doing is delaying your happiness through your own fear to not change. Because once you make that jump, it doesn't matter if you won't have any money because it will come. I know it sounds really weird, but it will come. The abundance will be provided to you. You have to trust the process. And then you'll meet your soulmate, and then you're going to spend happier years with him or her, rather than dragging yourself through this egotistical, I can't do this because I'm too scared crap, and end up being miserable. And then sometimes you end up going up to the spirit world. Just say if you did stay with that person and you absolutely did not do anything, even tower moments, sometimes they do, bang in and change your life, whether you like it or not. But if you haven't, you've got to do it again. There'll be a karmic element to what you failed to do in your life review with Jeremiah. And he'll say, well, you didn't do that. You were supposed to leave him, but your human ego was so strong over your divine intuition that you're going to have to do it again in your next life. So all the rest of your soul cluster in 3 generations' time is going, yeah, we'll do this and do that. You go, oh, shit, I've still got to do this one, because otherwise I'm going to get the karmic ramifications of that. And believe me, I get it. I get it, because there's a lot of you that are going to feel downtrodden. You might be connected to a narcissist. You may be in controlled environments. You may be in a situation where you just think there's absolutely no way out, but there always is. The problem is it's always the hardest decision to make. And the problem with this is what Julianus says, is that the consciousness of all of the guides and the angels that hear prayers are invoked. It's like, please help me. I need to change this. I need to change it. And their message to you is, change it then. Why ask for help? Why ask for someone else to come and do it for you when you can do it yourself? Darlings, if you go to my website, nickyalan.co, and it will give you the opportunity to join my subscribe tribe, where you will receive newsletters. These give you loads of personal anecdotes of what's happened in the week. I also love to give you giveaways and give you inspiration, spiritual talk, and also a beautiful little angel card reading at the end. It really is building into a wonderful community, just the newsletter in itself. Don't forget, I'm on YouTube as well, where I give you loads of different videos to help you in your spiritual development and awareness of the angels. And just an exclusive for you, there'll be a new Channeling Heaven program, where I shall be literally going up to the Crystal Palace and bringing direct messages to you from the angel realms and the spirit world to help humanity. And on top of that, if you really do want to take spiritual development a stage further, have a look at my shop, where I provide many guided meditations for your development. We have the PRISM Living Spiritual Development course and loads of other stuff, including my books if you'd like a signed version. So pop over to the shop area of my website, where you can just delight yourself in buying all sorts of wonderful spiritual things. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And I look forward to connecting with you both in my tribe on YouTube and through my newsletter. Embrace tower moments. They are crap at the time. It's like, do you know that meme that you see a lot where it says, danced in the rain, or danced during the storm because the rainbow come, or whatever that kind of stuff is. It's all about that. It's enduring the storm, knowing that there is a reason for everything that's happened. Now, some people say, well, what about, tragic passing? You can't say that's a good tower moment. No, it absolutely isn't. It absolutely isn't. But sometimes when I look beyond the human ego structure, which I love that, the ego structure, that's what Archangel Gabriel calls it, the ego structure. Beyond the ego structure, we look at what happens to people. Now, for instance, you may have or see someone that's had their son or daughter, their child pass, which is absolutely horrific, right? Perhaps they had a unusual leukemia or something like that. But then a trust gets set up. And this trust is all about in the memory of that child, and there's a concerted effort to look into that certain type of leukemia. There's always something good that comes from something bad. It has to, because that's the yin and yang of the universe. That is the shadow and light of how we live. There has to be balance. And, I remember, just literally came to my mind, a lady who emailed me a little while ago, and she said that she'd cared for her son who had, I think it was cerebral palsy. And it was just really hard work. Beautiful earth angel, beautiful boy. And she sadly lost him late teenage years. And she says, I'm lost without him. I don't know what to do. And I said, but you know what? That's because you were dedicated to his life. And now he's mostly looking down saying, Mum, go and live your life now. I had my bit. You want to experience this time looking after me. I want you to now fly. But she was, craving just being the carer and not being the cared for. She didn't know how to do it. Her son was her life and it had broken her marriage. And so suddenly she found she had nothing. But I said, you've got everything, darling. You've got a whole new life ahead of you now. You are graced by the fact that your son is now free of all of that human prison he was in that body. He's now looking with you, around you, sitting there holding your hand saying, come on, Mum, make me happy by seeing you happy. Go and live your life, change, embrace the change, move somewhere different, meet someone new, travel the world, do what you need to do on a human experience. And we get angry, don't we? When things are not going our way or something happens that's life-altering, that brings us that fear of change. We get angry and we kind of stay in our little bubble. We don't want to go out of our comfort zone. And we sit and we fester and we blame the world and we start manifesting this resentment, perhaps. Why is her life better than mine? She's a cow. Why am I going through this? Why is she getting away with it? Why? She's a young soul, most probably the person you're thinking of. Look at your energy. Look at your life. Look at perhaps your life plan and think, well, hang on a minute. This has happened. What can I do to move from it? What can I do to grieve it and move on? What can I do? How can I adapt? How can I improve a situation that was so bad? Because what is the point of sitting in it? It's like I used to say this analogy that was taught to me from, I don't know what guide it was, but I remember saying this in my readings. Anybody's had a reading from me, you will know this, because if it comes up as an analogy, I used to say, and it was such a good one they brought in my imagery in my third eye, is that you're sitting in a stinky minging swamp with stinky minging people around you that are in your life at the moment. All you got to do is stand up and start walking towards the riverbank and get out of the riverbank and then walk into an endless, sparkling ocean. But you're choosing to sit in the crappy old swamp because you don't want to change. You don't want to make movement. There is no movement without movement. It's that simple. And so I used to say, why are you just sitting in the swamp moaning about your situation? You're doing nothing to change it. Bit harsh, I know, because obviously, emotionally, physically, we could feel really weak. But that's where the spirit world comes in. That's where you do your lifeline. You phone a friend. This is really crap. What am I going to do? You're going to sit in the swamp, or you're going to think, hang on a minute. I keep hearing about all this support we can get from the higher powers. Let's give it a go. Help me. Bring me change. I will start implementing change. Help me to do it. And bugger me, it happens. I'm telling you. It happens in the most incredible ways. They'll start bringing people to you that you need. They'll start bringing opportunities to you that are just, how the hell did this happen? And you always know that the universe has got you and your loved ones from the spirit world or spirit guides, inspirers, whatever it is, because everything will just drop in your lap. The only thing they ask is for you to carry on communicating with them what you need and what you need to aspire to. It's that simple. And people are saying, how did that happen? I don't know, it just dropped in my lap. And, I think about it because I know that young souls are like, actresses, singers and things like that. And most of them, when you listen to their stories, right, they're young souls, they just want their fame. And most of them die really early or really tragically, really quick, don't they? So like, yeah, let me do that and then pop me off. I'm not fussed. I don't want to go for a long agonising illness because I'm a young soul. I just want fame, fortune, and then kill me off in a road accident or a drug overdose or whatever it is, right? So basically, they come down. And have you noticed that the universe goes, okay, then we'll adhere to your soul contract. Have you noticed that most big stars say, well, it was by accident. I was, auditioning for this. And then I accidentally walked in and look at Sean Connery. He was a milkman and he went in, got by complete accident for a laugh, and auditioned for something and he got it. He didn't even intend to be an actor. And singers, how did that happen? Oh, I don't know. Just literally this tape landed on my desk and I thought, I'm going to have that girl. And now she's a big pop star. It just jumps in your lap. The opportunity, the availability, what you've put out there for your soul contract, what you're honouring, it just jumps in there and says, here you go. This is what you asked for. This is what you intended. So it's partly soul contract that you've agreed that you wanted that to happen. But also, if you are running dry, empty, scared, worried, actually, I need this, please. I need that. Okay, then we'll implement that to you. I need it now. No, you're going to have to wait for divine timing. Your TikTok time's not important to us. You need to be patient. We will bring to you what you need and what you've asked for when it's right, because other things have to align to make it right. So when you start sending out your intentions, try my ordering from the universe guided meditation. That's a good one. When you start ordering from the universe, right, you send it out there and you let it go. Don't sit there waiting. It's been a week. It's been 2 weeks. I'm going to phone customer services. I'm going to track. I want to know where I'm going to want to track my order. It literally, you just need to send it out there and it's done. And so be it. Blessed be. And it's done. And expect and know that it will come when it's right. The biggest one is like, I've been wanting to sell my house. I need to sell my house. I need to sell my house. And it's like, yeah, I know, but the house that you are meant to be in, not what you think you should be in, the house you're meant to be in, most isn't up for sale yet. Just let them work out the puzzle pieces for you, and you just know that it's being dealt with and it will come. The only thing that can block you cosmic ordering and getting what you want after a tower moment is your own ego. And, you could literally perhaps lose patience and go and move somewhere or do something or take a job when the actual ultimate job that was going to be provided for you was like, another week away or another month away. But out of your own impulse, your own ego, your own fear or your own worry or your own impatience, you take another job. And then you think, Jesus, hang on a minute, I ordered this job. Why is this so crap? Because you haven't waited. You've gone on your impulse and not your intuition, because a lot of you will take something or go for something and inside it's like, oh, my tummy don't feel right, but I have to do this because I haven't got money coming in. I have to do it. Your intuition is saying, just wait, because I'm telling you now, you're going to get the best job ever if you just wait. But you've already jumped and you've already gone and done what you needed to do out of ego. Does that make sense? By all means, I'm not having it makes it sound like I'm having to go, you're just too impatient and you muck your own lives up. I don't mean that, but sometimes we need to sit. And this is why I always say, sit in your own energy, meditate, walk in nature, think things through, write them through in soul journals. Have a real plan about what's going to happen if you have to adapt or move or change, whether there's a tower moment or not. And people, you get itchy. Suddenly, there's an impulse as well. We think, I've got to move. You're like, why? No, I've got to move. But that's your intuition saying you've got to do it. So go with it. So the other thing is embracing the change. But when opportunities come, you have to have the courage to jump. You have to have the courage to jump. And know that if it feels right, do it. Even if there's flags coming up in your ego, oh, I'm too scared to do this. Or what happens if they do this? What happens if that? What will they think? Or should we do, right? If your intuition just says you've got to do this, do it. And it is very, very hard. And people say to me all the time in comments and emails, how do I know the difference between my mind, my ego, and my intuition and my soul-driven moral compass? And I say it is the most hardest thing you'll ever have to learn. However, the more you sit in your own space, the more that you meditate or walk in nature and check in on yourself, the more you'll start to learn the difference between intuition and ego-based decisions. I know I've said this before. How many times would you say to someone, oh, yeah, it'd be lovely to see you. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll definitely see you next week. But you're not going to. And your gut's going, you're so not going to do this. Why are you lying? It just feels wrong. Just say the truth. Right, that's what it feels like. Your intuition's saying, well, no, just be truthful. Your intuition says you ain't going to do that. You've got an inner voice and an outer voice, and it's in the inner voice that you've got to make louder. Because when the outer voice takes over, that's when you make the wrong decisions. It is so difficult. Let's face it, I bet there's loads of questions have come up in your head now. I'm sharing this with you. But, I can't cover every base. It's about you looking at what has been brought to you, how you can surrender, how you can adapt, and how you can move on from it. I'm trying to say that's what you need to do. Surrender to the situation. How can I adapt? How can I move on? How can I benefit from this? Whatever it is that's happened or happening. And then have the courage to implement those changes. What I think the main message that the guides are trying to get through to us is, don't sit in your own swamp of misery, feeling sorry for yourself or being angry with yourself or being angry with everybody else or blaming other people for why you're sitting in that swamp. Because all you have to do is stand up and start walking in a different direction to that riverbank, get yourself out of there and go and cleanse yourself in that sparkling ocean. And then you've got a whole ocean of opportunity, an endless horizon that you can recreate your life. If you are meant for bigger things, if you are meant to do something that's so important to the spirit world, to humanity, to whatever it is, then they will give you a tower moment to change your life. I always remember when I did Angels on TV and it was so lovely talking to the people that were featured on it, and we'd go for dinner or we'd sit and have a chat with them. And so many of them, it's like, had no angelic connection whatsoever. Most of them were like atheists or skeptics, absolutely not interested at all. And then after their experience where an angel saved their life or said to them, you'll make it when they thought they were dying or whatever they did, they were completely, oh my God, angels are real. This is absolutely true. And then they'll go on to teach it or write about it. Okay, so despite them having a really horrific, traumatic situation, they then became inspired to the rest of humanity about the angel realms, how they can save your life, how they did save people's lives, how they answered people's calls when they were in danger. And that's very, very strong, that is. I felt very strong because for me, everybody's already going to say, oh, she's like a tree-hugging psychic medium. Yeah, of course she's going to say that. But for normal members of the public to say this happened to me, and now I am, talking about my angel experiences, it's like, wow, hang on a minute. That was someone that actually wasn't a spooky dooky person. And now because of what's happened to them, they're now sharing it with the world through their books or through their experiences. It's like near-death experiences. Look how popular they are on YouTube channels and, TikTok channels. And people love reading about near-death experiences. Because for me telling you there's an after, yeah, whatever, you're going to say that because you're a psychic medium, right? Of course you're going to say that. But people, by their millions, view and read near-death experiences of normal people that have gone through it. Because they're just normal people. They don't profess to be psychic or a medium. They're literally a normal Joe Bloggs walking along and then they die for however long, come back and go, oh my God, there's a real heaven. Look at Dr. Eben Alexander, the doctor who 100% stated there is absolutely no afterlife. It's all a load of crap. You live, you die, you're gone. And then he ended up with this mysterious virus that basically created him being brain dead. And him as a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, knew that was impossible. But look, Google him. Eben, E-B-E-N, Alexander. Google him. Read his books. I won't do a spoiler. Incredible. And so this is what they're doing as well. I've noticed there's a massive change in that lots of people that aren't professed to be psychic light workers, healers, blah, 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 are literally changed in an instant and have the courage to say, whoa, this happened to me. This is real. I'm now going to enlighten humanity. But they're picking doctors, nurses, credible people to say, this is the experience I had. So if you're one of those people, yes, you will get a tower moment. And then you'll look back and go, wow, if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am now. Not all tower moments are for the greater good. When I'm talking about, you lose your mum or your dad or something like that, that is horrific. But, perhaps you wanted to learn that experience and learn how it is to grieve, and perhaps you end up becoming a counsellor. Perhaps you end up sharing your grief in a group support meeting and think, actually, I want to run my own group support meeting. The beautiful lady, Sharon, who I speak to, who, I did a video on my YouTube channel, who unfortunately was the survivor of child abuse. And now she sets up abuse meetings, and they're going worldwide for survivors of child abuse. So yes, there are horrific things that happen to people, but sometimes, very much so, if you're an older soul, there's a reason for this, because it helps other humans down here. The powers that be, the omnipresence, whatever you want to call the source of the universe, they know how tough it is down here as a human. It's bloody hell down here, I'm telling you. It is tough as old boots. They know that. This is the least developed planet in respect of spiritual consciousness and awareness. All the others are all connected to source really easily. So they know that we're pretty much going out in a big rough sea without a lifeline and a rope. But they try and tell us, we've got the lifeline, we've got the rope, and if you want it, just ask. Don't keep treading water, swallowing in water and half drowning. If you listen in your own personal power and you spend time listening to the universe, listening to people like me, then you'll know that we hold the lifeline and we can throw it to you. Why suffer drowning and trying to keep above water when we can throw you a life ring and you can float, and when we can pull you in whatever direction you ask to be pulled? Sounds too magical, doesn't it? But every single day I get an email, a message, well, not hundreds. My goodness, I can't believe it's taken me this long to find you. I now get signs from the angel realms. I've now been offered the job I always wanted. I now know that I need to change my life and I've never been happier, blah, 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 blah. Hundreds and hundreds of them, waking people up to say, you can do this. Just invest a little time in yourself and invest a lot of time in the powers that be, because they will provide this for you. They will provide everything you need. If you're patient, send it out and trust the universe. And check in on things. If you are frustrated, find out why. Is it ego, or is it your intuition saying you need to take action? You'll only know this by slowing down. People said the lockdown was hell. No, it wasn't. It's bloody brilliant. I had all that time to sit with yourself and listen, but nobody could do it because most people want distractions of the human base chakra stuff. They don't want to sit with themselves. They don't want to see the true reality of who they are. And if you don't want to do that, then that means you need to. You need to sit down, because you're obviously evading things that aren't right on your life plan. Does that make sense? Sit with yourself, get to know the inner you, because it will be the best thing you ever do to navigate what goes on around people, situations, and opportunities that come to you on this life. And then you end up popping up when you finally go up to spirit one. They go, bloody hell, you smashed your soul plan. Yeah, because I embraced change. I knew things were wrong, so I changed them. I knew my ego was involved, so I eradicated that. And I kind of did all right. And I helped humankind, in the same token. I did all right. And Jeremiah will say, yeah, you smashed it. Well done. Great. Go and join your soul family. Have complete utopia and just love doing what you want to do for the next 3 generations. And then if you fancy another incarnation to go through some human experience, come and do it. I do know, though, that, they're asking for people to come down with a lot more spiritual and human messaging soul plans at the moment. I know that because of what's going on in the planet, they're bringing people down more awake, or they're asking for them to become light workers a lot more, just so that we can implement some change on the planet with the new generations coming up. And if you listen to my most recent channeling with Archangel Gabriel, it explains all of this on my YouTube channel. It'll explain all of it. So all good things are coming. All good things are coming for the planet. And the next generations that will be incarnated will be a lot more awake, which is going to be so much easier. So much easier. And you might even see it in your babies and your children now, that they are old souls, that they kind of look at you and they look through you into your soul. That's all part of the divine plan. And it's beautiful. And it's happening now. And I love it. So anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed my little, sounds like a rant, my little input on embracing change and embracing tower moments, because once you actually get over whatever has happened and set a plan for how you can change it and almost get value from it, benefit from it, that's what life's all about. Doing a crossword without the answers next to it. Until the next time, I've absolutely loved keeping it real with you. Please review these podcasts and let us know what you think. Until the next time, lots of love, Nicky.